The greatest number one draft picks in NFL history, Eli Manning. Eli Manning never fit the superstar template, and that's exactly why his legacy is so complicated. He wasn't flashy, he didn't scramble like Vic, didn't have the swagger of his brother, and outside of New York, his regular seasons were mostly forgettable. But then the playoffs arrived.
Eli Manning can make throws from the left hash, right hash, down the field.
And that's when the awkward kid from Ole Miss turned into a cold-blooded assassin. Drafted first overall in 2004, Eli immediately sparked chaos by refusing to play for the Chargers, pulling off the NFL's version of a trade demand before even suiting up. It looked spoiled, but honestly, it worked. In New York, under the harshest lights in sports, Eli thrived in the chaos. In 2007, he took a scrappy 9-7 Giants team and did the unthinkable, ending the Patriots' perfect season with a game-winning drive punctuated by the gosh darn helmet catch. Then, just to make sure no one called it a fluke, he did it again in 2011. Another Super Bowl, another MVP, another fourth quarter dagger. Stat sheets don't love Eli. 244 interceptions, a 500 career record, and inconsistent regular season play. But legends aren't written within spreadsheets. When it mattered most, Eli went toe-to-toe with the greatest dynasty of the era and beat them twice. Yeah, he might have done it as the most awkward QB on the planet, and his name sparked more arguments than accolades. But it doesn't matter, because 2 rings is 2 rings. Jim Brown. Before fantasy football and red zone channels, Jim Brown was the league's entire highlight reel. Drafted first overall in 1957, he didn't just break tackles, he broke football. Bigger, faster, stronger, and angrier than everyone else on the field. Brown walked into the NFL and immediately turned it into his own personal demolition derby. In his rookie year, he led the league in rushing. He'd do that 8 times in 9 seasons. Think about that. Every team knew he was getting the ball every play, and they still couldn't stop him. Brown averaged 104 rushing yards per game, still the highest in league history. He won 3 MVPs. And then, just when people were begging for more, he retired at age 29, at the absolute peak of his powers. He didn't chase longevity. He didn't pad stats. He left the game just like he played it, on his own terms. Critics try to downplay his dominance by pointing at the era, but the logic collapses under the numbers. Brown wasn't just great in the 60s. He was better than everyone by a mile. His physicality would translate in any decade, and his mentality, that was timeless. Jim Brown didn't just shift the way the game was played, he warped it around himself. No committees, no load management, just 235 pounds of violence in motion. The league has evolved, but Brown's shadow still hangs over every dominant back that came after. He didn't chase the game, he was the game. Earl Campbell. When Houston drafted Earl Campbell first overall in 1978, they didn't draft a player, they summoned a storm. Campbell didn't run like a running back. He was basically a freight train with legs. Every carry looked like a personal vendetta. Defenders knew what was coming and still ended up horizontal on the turf. His rookie year, a brutal debut. 1,450 yards, 13 touchdowns, offensive rookie of the year, and the follow-up, even better. 1,697 yards, 19 touchdowns, and league MVP. And then 1980 happened. Campbell racked up 1,934 rushing yards, second most ever at the time, and left behind a trail of broken helmets, shattered schemes, and probably broken dreams. Tackling him wasn't a football play, it was a business decision. He won 3 straight rushing titles, 3 straight Offensive Player of the Year awards, not just dominating, overwhelming the competition, but that came at a price. Campbell's prime burned hot and fast. His physicality, which made him unstoppable, also shortened his career. By his late 20s, the toll was obvious. Critics point to the drop-off, but they miss the point. Campbell wasn't built for marathon careers. He was built to punish instantly and then go home and take a fat nap. For a brief but unforgettable window, Earl Campbell was the most feared man in football. Not the fastest, not the most elusive, just the most inevitable. He made linebackers question their careers and fans question physics. And that kind of impact, it echoes long after the bruises fade. He didn't need a long peak, just enough time to bulldoze his way into NFL lore. O.J. Simpson. Before the headlines, before the courtroom, O.J. Simpson was football's first megastar. Drafted number 1 in 1969, Simpson's early years in Buffalo were underwhelming.
Top 10 Heisman Trophy winners. The first one I think of is O.J. Simpson.
But then came 1973. In just 14 games, he ran for 2,003 yards, the first to ever cross that mark. That's 143 yards per game. No gimmicks, no extra week, just pure dominance. He was so far ahead of his time, it almost looked unfair. His speed in the open field was terrifying, almost like a white Bronco going down the freeway. His cuts, effortless. His balance, unshakable. Defenses loaded the box, but it didn't matter. He ran through it anyway. That season earned him MVP, All-Pro, and a permanent place in NFL mythology. And it wasn't a one-year fluke. He finished with 4 rushing titles, 5 first-team All-Pro nods, and carried a mediocre Bills team on his back for nearly a decade. But the story, as we all know, gets a little messier. His legacy isn't just football. What came after, his trial, the media circus, the split in public opinion, cast a shadow so large it almost erased what came before. Some fans try to separate the two, others say you can't, but no one debates the on-field impact. At his peak, Simpson was the most electrifying player in the league. His 2,000-yard season changed what was thought possible at the position, and whether his name evokes admiration or extreme discomfort, it still evokes something. For better or worse, O.J. Simpson isn't just a number 1 pick. He's one of the most polarizing figures in sports history. Troy Aikman. Troy Aikman's first season looked like a mistake. Drafted first overall in 1989, he inherited a Dallas team in shambles and promptly went 0-11 as a rookie starter. But patience, which we all know Cowboy fans have a lot of, paid off. By 1992, Aikman was the calm, calculated heartbeat of a rising juggernaut. Surrounded by Emmitt Smith and Michael Irvin, he didn't have to be flashy, just flawless. And he was. The Cowboys won 3 Super Bowls in 4 years, and Aikman's postseason resume speaks louder than any stat line. He went 11-4 in the playoffs. He threw for over 300 yards in a Super Bowl, and when the pressure hit hardest, his efficiency actually rose. He didn't lead the league in passing, but he didn't need to. Aikman was the perfect pilot, sharp, poised, and brutally accurate when it mattered most. His throws on third down were cold-blooded, his reads were instant, and his toughness undeniable. Concussions eventually forced him out, cutting his career shorter than it should have been. But by then, he was the winningest quarterback in Cowboys history, and already had a ticket to Canton. Some fans argue he was a system guy. Others say his numbers don't pop, but the rings do, the wins do, and the legacy, it's practically carved in stone. Troy Aikman didn't need to throw for 5,000 yards. He just needed to show up when the lights got brightest, and he always did. For a number 1 pick, that's all you can ask for, and then some. Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett arrived in Cleveland with a mission. Be the kind of pass rusher franchises build defenses around. Drafted first overall in 2017, he didn't just meet expectations, he reshaped them. From his first snap, Garrett combined freakish size, explosive speed, and a relentless motor that offensive tackles couldn't contain. Tackles tried single blocks, then doubles, then chipped runs, but they might as well have been taking a nap because nothing worked. Garrett sprinted right by them, spitting on the floor. Year after year, he pressured quarterbacks like it was a personal vendetta. He became the face of a defense that demanded respect. Garrett posted double-digit sacks every season except his injury-shortened rookie year, and consistently shifted game plans because of his presence. But just a few weeks ago, he rushed himself from elite to immortal. In Week 18 of the 2025 season, Garrett notched his 23rd sack, breaking the NFL's single-season sack record previously shared by Michael Strahan and TJ Watt, a mark that had stood for decades. It happened late in the Browns' final game against the Bengals, when he burst around the edge and brought down Joe Burrow, officially owning the record and cementing his legacy as the new sack king. That achievement didn't come from flashes. It came from unrelenting consistency. Garrett had at least 12 sacks in 6 straight seasons, a testament to his dominance and durability. Critics point to Cleveland's lack of playoff success, but defensive stars rarely control their own narratives. Garrett, meanwhile, controls games. He alters protections, offenses scheme away from him. For a modern number 1 pick, that fear factor is rare. And now, with the all-time sack record in his grasp, he's building a case as one of the greatest defensive players in NFL history. Terry Bradshaw. Terry Bradshaw's career trajectory reads like a drama that bridges failure and dynasty. Drafted first overall in 1970, he stepped into a Steelers franchise begging for direction and promptly unraveled. Interceptions piled up, confidence wavered, and benchings followed, all while his hairline went further and further past his forehead. Pittsburgh media and fans labeled him a bust before he ever found his groove. But then, something clicked. The mid-70s Steelers were a perfect storm of ferocious defense and emerging offensive identity, and Bradshaw became the unlikely commander. He didn't just lead, he thrived when the stakes were highest. Pittsburgh won 4 Super Bowls in 6 seasons, a dynasty unmatched for decades. Bradshaw earned 2 Super Bowl MVPs and captured the league MVP in 1978, not with gaudy numbers, but with bravado under pressure. He wasn't a textbook passer, far from it, and his regular season stats rarely jump off the page. But that misses the point. What made Bradshaw dangerous was his timing. In tight games, he flung deep strikes that snapped defenses in half and rewrote momentum. He didn't protect leads, he crushed them. Critics argue his supporting cast inflated his legacy, but even the greatest teams need a quarterback who can handle the pressure moments, and Bradshaw did that repeatedly. He became the first quarterback to win 4 championships, a benchmark that stood untouched for years. For a number 1 pick written off early, Bradshaw didn't just redeem himself, he redefined what resilience at the position could look like. Bruce Smith didn't just disrupt back, he terrorized them for 2 decades. Drafted first overall in 1985 by the Bills, he arrived with freakish size, an explosive first step, and a relentless motor that offensive linemen simply couldn't mirror. At 6 foot 4 inches and 265 pounds, Smith wasn't just fast, he was unstoppable. Early success quickly turned into sustained dominance. He recorded 200 career sacks, still the most in NFL history. A total so high it feels untouchable. I mean, just think about it for a second. If you took Myles Garrett's 23 sack record, you would need to do that for 9 seasons to reach that 200 sack count, and the average NFL career is only 3 seasons. But sacks are just the surface. Smith earned 8 first-team All-Pro selections, 2 Defensive Player of the Year awards, and anchored a Bills defense that reached 4 straight Super Bowls, even if we all know what happened with that. What separated Smith from other pass rushers wasn't just his physical talent though, it was his longevity and adaptability. As offenses evolved, so did he. Into his late 30s, Smith was still winning matchups against younger, faster linemen. Teams didn't just plan for him, they feared him. Quarterbacks rushed throws, protection shifted, entire offensive philosophies adjusted. His relentless pursuit forced coaches to double team, chip block, or slide protect, yet he still spit on it and found ways to disrupt. Smith wasn't just a great pick, he became the standard by which defensive careers are measured. For defensive players drafted first overall, his career became the bar. No one has matched his blend for production, durability, and sheer dominance yet. And honestly, nobody probably ever will. John Elway. John Elway's NFL story began with defiance, and it ended with unforgettable triumph. Drafted first overall in the iconic 1983 quarterback class, Elway refused to play for the Colts, threatening a baseball career instead. That standoff forced a trade to Denver, and the league hasn't been the same since. From the outset, Elway's arm strength felt unreal. He could make throws others wouldn't even consider. Early success brought deep playoff runs, but not wins. 3 trips to the Super Bowl in the 80s all ended in heartbreak, earning him the label of unable to finish. That narrative stuck until he completely erased it. In the late 90s, with a complete roster around him, Elway seized the moment. Super Bowl 32 saw him deliver the now legendary helicopter run, sacrificing his body to extend a critical drive, unlike Cam Newton. Denver won back-to-back championships, with Elway earning Super Bowl MVP in his final game before retirement. He walked away on top, leaving behind more than just numbers. He finished with over 51,000 passing yards, 300 touchdowns, and 148 wins. But his influence didn't stop on the field. As an executive, Elway helped build another Super Bowl win, proving his football instincts translated way beyond playing. For a number one pick who reshaped expectations through defiance and dominance, Elway's legacy remains layered and enduring, a career defined by resilience, transformation, and unforgettable moments. Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning's career arc is a masterclass in evolution. From rough rookie to cerebral quarterback legend. Drafted first overall in 1998, his first season was a struggle, tossing 28 interceptions and testing patience league-wide. But that early adversity became horsepower for what was to come. Manning didn't just read defenses, he anticipated them. He revolutionized pre-snap communication, audibles, and quarterback preparation, turning film study into an art form. In Indianapolis, he led 11 playoff appearances, 8 division titles, and a Super Bowl win that finally quelled critics who questioned his postseason legacy. Then, what looked like a career ender, a severe neck injury cost him the entire 2011 season. At age 35, many thought his story was over. It was not. Manning reinvented himself in Denver, immediately lifting an unfamiliar offense and redefining dominance once again. In 2013, he delivered one of the most prolific seasons in league history, 55 touchdowns and over 5,400 yards, shattering records seemingly every week. I mean, the guy literally threw 7 touchdowns in his first game back, but that wasn't enough. In 2015, even as his physical tools declined, Manning guided the Broncos to the postseason and captured a second Super Bowl, making him one of the few quarterbacks to win titles with multiple franchises. He retired with 5 MVP awards, the most ever, 2 championships, and nearly 72,000 passing yards. Numbers that speak to his consistency and longevity. Manning didn't just meet expectations for a number one pick. He defined them, reshaping quarterback play and league strategy for a generation to come. If you like this video, YouTube thinks you're gonna love this next one, so give it a check out.